Listen up, the first season of Black Ops 6 range play ends in 19 days, and not everyone is playing cheaters and iridescent like me. You might be gold, platinum, diamond, or even crimson and looking to push to the next rank before the season ends. So we're going to be going over 3 ways to instantly improve your game in 2025. Before we start, if this video does help you out, let me know with liking or subscribing, and also commenting down below, because Black Ops 6 is not in the best place right now, and I'm interested to see how helpful this content is right now. And my first tip is actually my favorite for improving fast, and it's to find out what you're worst at and improve at it as fast as you can. The reason it's so important to find what you're worst at is because if you're someone who's hard stuck, meaning you only gain around 30 SR per win, the game is evaluating you at your current rank. So if you want to rank up or if you want to break out of your hidden performance rating, not only will you have to keep winning games, but you'll have to genuinely improve in many aspects, enough so that the game actually registers you as being a better player. The only way to do that is with drastic improvements, and fortunately that's totally possible if you focus on what you're worst at. For most people, this is usually aim, movement, or game sense. Usually it's pretty easy to tell which of these is your worst, but if you're not sure or you're having trouble deciding which route to go, I would recommend recording your own gameplay and re-watching it after the fact. You can do this in theater mode as well. But let's start with aiming. If aiming is something that you feel like you struggle with or you feel like you can improve most upon, what I would do is go into a bot lobby like the one that I'm in right now, set the time limit and kill limit as high as you can, and all that you're going to do when you shoot the bots is keep your aim on the center mass of the bot and make sure you don't miss a single shot. There is no pressure and no stakes in this lobby at all. Your only objective is going to be to not miss a single shot. The reason that we're doing this is to practice keeping your aim at the center mass while shooting the bots. Later on with aim, we'll get into more snappy movements and practicing how to snap on a target, but for now your main objective is going to be just to hit every single shot. If you don't, that's okay, but you need to get in the habit of making sure every time that you're on target, you never leave it. Now, if your aim is feeling especially shaky or if you feel like you're really needing a ton of help, what you could do is go into your controller settings down in target aim assist and turn that off. So make it so that you have to actively keep up with where your opponents are going. It'll make it much harder to hit your shots. But if you get used to this after like a couple hundred kills or so, then afterwards go back into your settings and turn your target aim assist on. You'll feel much more improved and much more confident with the help of aim assist, being able to stay on target. I would only do that last step if aim is something that you really struggle with. And of course, I would practice this for both the ARs and the SMGs. And before we get into practicing snapping onto targets, you want to make sure that your sensitivity is good and fits your playstyle. I have a video on that I'll link in the description and put on the end screen above. So if your sensitivity is not something that you're confident in, that video should be able to help you out. Another important aspect of aiming is being able to snap on targets and keep your aim there. A drill that you can use in private matches is to purposely aim away from the bots and then snap towards them. Again, making sure to keep your aim at center mass for the entirety of the kill. There might be a little bit of adjusting that you have to do, but that's perfectly normal and something that you'll end up doing in game as well. And with the aiming tips out of the way, up next we'll talk about movement. If you're a player that feels very confident with your aim and your game sense and you feel like your movement is what needs the most help, of course I would start in the settings and make sure that you have all the proper settings. We'll go over them real quick. In the controller settings, all that I use is sprint assist on with a delay of 2. I play on hybrid for slide and dive behavior. And over here at movement and advanced settings, I put tactical sprint activation on single tap run, so that if I simply push forward on the analog stick, I single sprint. If I want to tack sprint, I have to click forward just once on my left stick. That makes it so that if I want to single sprint forward, I can get out of my sprint and shoot way faster than if I'm tack sprinting and end up wanting to shoot. Now, the rest of everything movement related is going to take time and practice. One important thing is that you want to try not to overdo it. Jump shotting is really, really bad in Black Ops 6, and you'll just see how much it messes with my aim once I hit the ground. However, there are some great movements like the long slide, the slide cancel, diving if you use it correctly. These are all movements that will help you win more gunfights in Black Ops 6. Also, one thing to mention is ledge sliding and being able to pair that ledge slide with another ledge slide like so. And also bunny hopping. If you bunny hop onto a surface that's higher than the one you started, it doesn't give you that crazy amount of aim bobbing like we were talking about earlier. You'll see if I just bunny hop here on the ground, the aim moves that much. But if you jump first from the ground and then bunny hop on a higher surface, it doesn't impact your aiming sway as much as it does if you were to just jump from the ground like that. Again, I'll show you here. If you start your jump from the ground and then continue your bunny hop on the higher surface, the aiming sway is not as much as it would be if you just jump from the ground to another spot on the ground. If that makes sense. This doesn't work for every height, but anything that's just a little bit above the ground, not too high, you'll be able to use that to bunny hop and it works extremely well. Something that's around this high off the ground is kind of the perfect height to be looking for and actually allows you to bunny hop in a game that doesn't really promote bunny hopping at all. In terms of other movement mechanics that are worth practicing, of course, the long slide is a great one. Not even worrying about canceling your slide, just continuing it throughout the entire duration of the slide. Snaking is a little bit cheesier, but something that will definitely help you win more gunfights. If you don't want to get called out for it, or you don't want to be too cheesy, you could always hit them with just 1 pump or 2 pumps before going and finishing the kill. But this pretty much gives you a peeker's advantage on anything that's around body height, and it doesn't mess with your aim that much getting up into the gunfight. And while movement is of course something that's worth being improved on, you need to keep in mind that sometimes overdoing it is a problem. If you move too much, like you're doing too much sliding, sprinting, jumping, or doing too many flashy movements that aren't necessarily helping you out, just keep in mind that there is a fine line between good movement and doing too much. If you notice yourself getting caught sprinting, or if your gun is bobbing so much because you're jumping a ton, or your aim is messing up because you're sliding into prone or something like that, know that situationally it's completely okay to keep your L trigger up and just be more ready for gunfights than not. And our last common area to improve on is general game sense. What this usually means in Call of Duty is spawn knowledge and knowing how to manipulate those spawns into your favor. The good news is it's very easy to get feedback on whether or not your spawn predictions are accurate. In game, of course, you can do this by looking at the minimap, but here's how you can practice that while not even being in a game for yourself. Here we're watching Optic play LAG, and actually here we are going to go over to P2, and we're going to test some of your spawn knowledge here. So Skies is pushing out the back. They end up getting 2 kills while maintaining control of P2. I'm going to pause right here, and I want you to ask yourself, if you're this player here and your team just got those 2 kills in the back of P2, while you have a teammate pushed out or palms on the left, where do you expect your opponents to spawn? Because being able to predict where your opponents are going to be coming from is key for maintaining hill time and also just general control of the game. So fortunately for them, player number 8 is pushed far enough into the back and ends up looking towards the deep spawn, just enough to make the opponent spawn mid. At least from my perspective of playing ranked play, these back spawns are a little bit stickier towards P2, so it makes sense why player number 8 keeps looking in the back. However, because at that point in time they have both palms pushed out and looking towards the back, the Optic players do not spawn in the back. Therefore, Skies is able to focus more towards mid and the lobby side there. And if you keep your eyes on the minimap, you'll see that other spawn come through. Even though player 8 is pushed out, they still get the sticky spawns in the back of P2. So it's important to know that there's not always a 100% guaranteed answer for spawn predictions, which is why if we go back, Skies is looking both towards lobby while also being ready to help out towards the back side of P2 if he were to get the information to do so. P4 is very similar in that the back spawns are super important, and if you're not spawning in the back, you're usually spawning either pool or middle. So what Optic's doing here is pushing all the way through Art, trying to get control of the back spawns, and you see just that pressure there already makes player number 6 spawn out towards pool. Since both teams have people in the back of the map and nobody's hard spawning there, and it's important for them to realize that, because if they don't break the hill fast enough, they're already going to be flanked by their opponents that spawned out. So long story short, the more practice that you have predicting spawns and knowing where your opponents are going to be coming from is not only going to make the games way easier to win, it's also going to give you more kills, better positioning, and an all-around better stat line that will improve your SR gains at the end of the day. And with those 3 tips out of the way for improving your individual performance, we're going to talk more about teamwork, team pushes, and limiting how often you solo push. I think a great example of this is Shotzi in this POV that they're about to play here. He gets a spawn in the back right here, and I think what this shows is the huge difference between actual pro team play and ranked play. So what he does right here is he gets a kill, and if we just pause and look at the minimap, it's a 2 versus 2 right now with his teammate on the other side and the opponents are in hill time. If you're like me, it only makes sense to just run at the hill, right? Try to get the kills and get the time. There's only 4 seconds left until you win the game, right? The problem with that is if he pushes the hill by himself, of course, because his teammate is on the other side, it's possible he just gets taken out and then his teammate is left at a disadvantage. Also, if Shotzi dies on this side and they don't break this, their opponents are more likely to have P2 spawns and could chain together P1 and P2 and win the game for themselves. So instead, what he does right here is jump across to get the information and doesn't challenge the time. He stalls a little bit, waits for his team to spawn up, and even though he dies right here, that delay giving his team the time to spawn up on the proper side of the map is what ends up winning them this game. And I'll play it again just so we can go over it one more time. Again, if you're like me and just run around and shoot when you're playing ranked play, you go towards the hill right here, you probably die, and then your team ends up losing the game, or it makes it a lot harder to win the game. So even though Shotzi dies right here, like I said earlier, that slight delay to lurk in the lobby and go towards Cat ends up giving the opponents time to spawn out and his teammates time to spawn in on the proper side of the map. By the time he does end up dying, his teammates are closer and able to get the trades, leading them to be more likely to break the hill on this side. They don't end up winning the hill on P1, but they do have those rotations for P2, likely because of Shotzi staying alive at their lobby. Now, how can you work on your teamwork and solo pushes in ranked play? Let's say you're trying to break P2 on Skyline, and let's say that your opponents are spawning in the back, so closer to the hill. If you're working with your team through top cat, or piano steps or piano side to break the hill. Let's say your team goes 3 down and you're stuck alone trying to break the hill by yourself. Now, one option would be try to slide into hill, get 2, 3, or 4 kills like a superhero, then hop on the hill and save the day. And that's not super likely to happen. What most likely will happen is you'll slide in, get shot by 3 or 4 people, and then your team has to wait even longer for you to spawn up and be here to help. Instead, what you could try to do is to just play an off angle, wait for somebody to chow out, and then hopefully by the time that you have won, even if you do get traded, your team will have had time to push up to top cat or get a little bit closer to the hill so that they can get the trade and then end up working the kills in the hill. Alternatively, you could also just try to dip, play an even deeper corner and wait for your teammates to get closer before re-challenging again, looking for more trades, and then eventually getting hill time. A lot of times when playing ranked, it's very easy to turn your brain off and just go towards the hill, looking for the kills even though it might not be the smartest play. And this is also something that doesn't necessarily involve comms or being in a 4-stack. Even if you're playing solo or without a stack, all you need to do is have a good eye on the minimap, and then you can know when it is the right time to work towards breaking the hill. There is of course a time and a place for solo pushes, and on a fast game like Call of Duty, everybody's bound to make mistakes at some point in time. Just try to do the best that you can to work with your team, because it's not always possible to break everything by yourself. And the last tip that I have for improving in Black Ops 6 ranked play is simply to make sure that you have confidence when you're playing. A lot of people, myself included, will second guess themselves, second guess their plays, or second guess your aim, your movement, or your game knowledge like we were talking about earlier. If you don't have confidence while playing Call of Duty, you're not going to succeed. Honestly, to the point where delusional confidence probably makes you a better player. Of course, you want to find a way to pair that with making the right decisions in game and not being overconfident and ego challenging. But finding a healthy medium, trusting your play calls, and going from there will definitely help you improve in ranked play. For me, this also includes bad Call of Duty habits, one of them being that when I get nervous or when I think I'm not going to win, I spam my jump button. I have no idea why. It's just something that I do. For previous CODs, I guess I had success jump shotting, and for whatever reason in this COD, I've yet to train that out of me, especially in more intense situations. And for me, how I plan on working on that is to constantly put myself in more situations that make me feel frantic, like more tournaments and wagers and stuff like that, rather than simply just ranked play. Because I know that if I can get out of the habit of spamming my jump button when I don't need to, I'm going to win a lot more gunfights and be a lot more successful when it comes to ranked play and just Call of Duty in general. But you should think about what that means for you in terms of your gameplay. If your aim or your game sense, or like me, your movement starts to mess up when you're in certain situations, put yourself in enough of those situations to get used to them and try to recognize when you do end up messing up. It's of course okay if you mess up or lose as well, because you can just use that as an opportunity to learn and get better. And of course, you can 100% gain the confidence that you need by practicing the steps we were talking about earlier, whether that's shooting bots or looking at VOD or whatever it might be. Just make sure that you're confident while improving your game, and you'll only notice success from there. Thank you all for watching. Again, let me know if this video helped you out. Like and subscribe for more like these, and I will catch you next time at lunchtime.